Hello guys, and welcome to Nurburgring for the 9th edition in this Project Cars Formula A career of mine. And we are just about getting ready for the qualifying session here today. I have to say I've never driven the Nurburgring before. Well, obviously I've driven the classic one, but this is the GP version, and I'm not really sure what to expect here. By the looks of it, it looks well, kind of slow and boring really, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens during the race. Often practice sessions are really no indication of whether or not a track is interesting to drive in a race. Jumping straight ahead to the task at hand here, this is going to be our first lap of the qualifying session, our first full lap that is, and well, so far I have to say that I have this nagging fear in me that this could easily turn out to be yet another Donington or Brands Hatch experience, especially if it starts to rain. Currently it's a little overcast here, and I'm not really sure what the weather is going to be like for the race itself, but I got a feeling if we see rain here, we're going to be in trouble. Anyway, sitting in P3 here after the first lap, I still think that we are going to be able to improve on this one, so we're going to be staying out for an additional lap here, see if we can't chop off a few tenths here and hopefully advance to the front row of the grid there. 134, 485, that is an improvement of 0.4 of a second there. By no means a world beater in any way, but still good enough to put us into provisional pole. And that is where we're going to be ending up, starting first on the grid for tomorrow's race. And seeing Peter Monroe there on the front row of the grid, I don't think we've seen him among the front runners since Barcelona. I believe that was the race that he won. Frank Landrin equally inconsistent there, but Christian Borchens in fourth. Kind of getting used to seeing him among the point getters there. So here we are getting ready to get out of the gate. As you can see, it's quite overcast at this point here, but we are not expecting rain. We are, however, expecting some fog later on. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We get out of the gate nicely here. Peter Monroe gets a pretty good start, but we are able to match him here. Heading into turn one there, Peter Monroe diving down the inside of us there, cutting the corner completely as we are into P2, being put under pressure by Anthony Lowe, I believe it is, here in the number 3 spot there right behind us. Not really sure what it is with the AI there. They just seem to be able to go off track and just remain at pace. If I go off track and I even touch the throttle, I'm gone. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that, but we are into P2 trying to chase down Peter Monroe.
The mirrors. Time to cover the inside line and brake as late as you can.
Like I was talking about during qualifying there, drawing the comparison to Brands Hatch or Donington, I wasn't really referring to the track as such being comparable to the two tracks there in Britain, but I kind of get the feeling that it's going to be equally difficult to overtake on this track. It's not very wide, and there aren't any out-and-out straights there, and the slow turns are pretty darn difficult to hit the proper line in, so you really need to be careful when trying to outbrake somebody. Heading uphill here into the NGK chicane, a little too late on the brakes there, touching wheels with Peter Monroe, almost putting both cars off track there. We managed to save the car, and Peter Monroe staying on track, pulling out a slight gap on us there as we have Frank Landrin right behind us coming out on the main straight. Skipping ahead to lap 2 here, Peter Monroe really putting his foot down at the moment as he's pulling out a huge gap on us here. Almost 3 seconds up the road already as we come uphill one more time into the NGK chicane, completely missing the braking point this time around. End up having to cut the corner there. Frank Landrin taking full advantage of that, going down the outside of us and getting a poor entry here into turn 15 as Laszlo Illies takes advantage of that, going down the inside of us. We do get the better exit though and are able to power away here on the straight back into P3. And at this point I have to say that we're probably our own worst opponent on the track right now. Jumping ahead to lap 5, putting in the fastest lap of the race here so far, but Frank Landrin still about a second and a half up the road here, definitely proving difficult to catch here. Jumping ahead to lap 7 here, no change overall. Only difference is that Frank Landron appears to be stretching out the gap down to us. He's about 2.5 seconds up the road here, and we are currently unable to match his speed here. The good news is that we are opening up an equal gap down to the P4 car, Dirk Clapham, at this point. Skipping ahead to lap 12 here, we have finally managed to close the gap to Frank Landron here. We are less than a second behind him right now, and as an added bonus here, Frank Landron has been catching up to Peter Monroe here for the past couple of laps, so we now have the top 3 cars of the race within what appears to be 2 or 3 seconds of each other. Jumping straight to lap 13 here, we are right on the rear wing of Frank Landron here as we come through turn 5, heading downhill here into what is going to be the turn 7 hairpin here, trying to go down the inside here of Frank Landron, see if we can outbrake him there. We make the move stick, at least momentarily there, but Frank Landron seems to find some traction here, taking the outside line, just powering away from us here up the straight, and we remain in P3 there. Great move. Coming through turn 11 here, out on this semi-straight here. We're going to have a look down the inside here into turn 12, flicking on the curse, opening the DRS, see if we can't squeeze down the inside of Frank Landron. They're almost making contact, heading into the NGK chicane, a little late on the brakes there, end up having to cut the corner in order not to put both cars off track. And boy, is he putting up a fight here. And getting a good exit here from turn 15. We have the momentum coming down the main straight here into the slipstream, opening the rear wing, flicking on the curse, going down the inside here, heading into turn 1. We make the move stick, only barely with contact right here. Almost end up spinning because of it, but we are into P2 and no damage to the car, thankfully. Jumping ahead to lap 16 here, we definitely seem to have the pace over Peter Monroe at the moment here. As a matter of fact, we seem to be a lot faster than Frank Landron as well, as he's dropping back several seconds. And coming into turn 7 here, we're going to try the same move as we did on Frank Landron. Peter Monroe not putting up the same fight as Frank did. We make the move stick as we are back into P1 on lap 16 of the race here. And it does appear that the AI are starting to feel the tire wear, because right now it seems that we are the fastest car on the track. And speaking of tire wear, jumping to lap 20 here, we are coming in for our first and hopefully only stop off the race here. We're going to be putting on a new set of tires, and as you can see there, we are dropping all kinds of positions at this point here. I believe we are probably the first car to come in to change. And no technical difficulties this time around, thank God, considering what happened at Silverstone last weekend. Rejoining the track in P17, but like I was saying, I don't think there's been too many cars in the pit yet. And skipping right ahead to lap 21, like I was talking about, several cars in the pits at this point, we advance to P9. Jumping ahead to lap 22 here, we are up into 3rd place at this point, and it appears that the only 2 cars who have not been into pit yet are Peter Monroe and Frank Landron. And looking in the pit lane there on the mini-map, it appears that both cars are in the pits on this very lap. We managed to go down the straight right ahead of both cars as we are back into P1 here. Jumping ahead to lap 24 here, as you can see, Peter Monroe is definitely not letting go of us there. We are unable to open up a gap on him at this point, and as a matter of fact, we're having to use everything in the arsenal just to keep him at bay here. And as you can see, the fog that I was talking about at the start of the race is now here, and while this doesn't mean much in terms of visibility, this actually looks a lot worse than it really is on track. But what it does mean, however, is that the track temperature is dropping and the track in general is getting a lot more slippery. Jumping ahead to lap 30 here, Frank Landrin now into P2, having overtaken Peter Monroe, and while doing that, closing the gap on us quite dramatically. He is less than a second down on us right now. Heading into turn 3, we get to experience the change in track conditions firsthand as we almost lose the back end of the car. We managed to save it, but Frank Landrin taking full advantage of that, pounces on the opportunity in turn 4, going down the inside of us as we are back into P2 here on lap 30 out of 35. Trying to see if we can't return the favor here into turn 6, but thinking the better of it here. And all the while, we focus all our attention on Frank Landrin. Peter Monroe ended up almost sneaking up the inside of us there. Coming out of turn 11 here on the semi-straight, we're going to have a look and see if we can't put a move on Frank here heading into the NGK chicane if possible. We're right on his exhaust here, heading uphill, just stepping on the brakes there in time not to hit him there, but as you can see there, it doesn't really matter much to him as he just cuts the corner, taking advantage of that. Peter Monroe also taking advantage of it, going down the inside of us there, but in turn running wide in turn 15, meaning we have the better exit here, able to pull away from him on the straight, no problem whatsoever. Back into P2, lots of stuff going on right here, but we end up getting a huge tow here, putting us in position to go down the inside of Frank Landrin there. There's contact as he doesn't want to give up the line there, and Frank ends up running off the track there. Peter Monroe taking full advantage of us tangling with each other as he sneaks into P1. We remain in P2. Peter, you sneaky bastard, you. Coming downhill one more time, right on the exhaust here of Peter Monroe. We're going to see if we can't replicate the move that we did a couple of laps ago here, heading down the inside here. A little bit of contact as we come through turn 7 there. Peter Monroe ends up running off track, as you can see there in the mirrors. I think we touched wheels or something like that. Frank Landrin moves into P2, but we are back into P1 with 4 laps remaining of the race. Skipping ahead to lap 35, that is all she wrote, gentlemen. We are going to be taking the win here at Nurburgring today in a hard-fought and sometimes not too clean race. So there you have it, guys. We end up taking the 25 points here today. Peter Monroe in second, wrestling back P2 from Frank Landrin. Dirk Clapham is in fourth, and Christian Borgens is in fifth here, still scoring 10 points. Looking at the championship standings here after 9 races, we are opening up a nice gap down to Anthony Lowe and Sasha Schutz, who is in third right now. Christian Borgens is in fourth, and our teammate Fabio is still in fifth, even though we haven't seen much of him lately. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to this channel for more Project Cars action, and I'll be seeing you soon enough. Bye-bye.